بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. So I'd like to talk about Qiyam ta'ala bi nafsihi. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his Qiyam, which is here, is understood as being subsistence. قوله قيوم لا ينام. So he is Qayyum, he is always sustaining, eternally or constantly sustaining, rather, la yanam, and he does not sleep. Nama yanamu, to sleep, naum, to sleep. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not sleep. Okay, it's also an allusion to the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not get tired like we get tired when we expend energy. He does not need to sleep. He does not need to rest. Jalla wa ala. So, huwa al-qa'im ala kulli nafsin bima kasabat. He is the qayyum in the sense that he takes care of everything as well. وَقِيلَ هُوَ الْحَافِظ. Another way to understand this is that he is hafiz. So qayyum imparts this idea that Allah takes care. قَائِم عَلَى كُلِّ نَفْسٍ بِمَا كَسَبَتْ. That he's the one who takes care of every person with what he acquires. وَقِيلَ هُوَ الْحَافِظ. And he is the one who protects here, hafiz. وَقِيلَ, it's also said, الْقَائِم بِتَدْبِير. Tadbir أمر الخلق. That he is the one who takes care or manages the affairs of creation. Right? This is very, very important, even in a pastoral sense, that we understand that Allah takes care of all our affairs, and who can be a better carer than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's also said that it can be understood al-qa'im bi-dhatihi, that he is self-sufficient, and al-muqim li ghayrihi, and he sustains others as well. Okay, so this is something to bear in mind. And in the footnote, he says here, al-qiyam bin-nafs ibaratun. Ibara is an expression, al-istighna, that Allah is completely what we say mustaghni, like he doesn't need anything, right? And so something that's worth remembering as well. So this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He doesn't tire. Khaliq, the next one is khaliqun bila haja, that he is the khaliq, he is the creator, fa'il khaliq bila haja. And when he creates, it's not that he creates because he needs to create. He creates without any need. In other words, he's not compelled to do anything, right? We do things because there's a reason for us to do that action, usually speaking. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is free from desires, wants, etc. as well. Okay? And he mentions this here in the Shara. Al-hajatu nuqs, like being in need is a form of deficiency, right? And because one is in need of averting from oneself, right? Because a need, it comes from a position of weakness. Wallahu huwa al-ghani, but Allah is ghani mutlaq, that he is independent in all sense. And so he doesn't have فَلَا يَكُونْ لَهُ حَاجَةٌ فِي فِعْلِهِ. He doesn't have any need for his action. And Allah mentions this in the Quran in Surah Ali Imran, verse number 29 here. It's not verse number 29, sorry. It's verse 97 there. فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ غَنِيٌّ عَنِ الْعَالَمِينَ, chapter number 3, Ali Imran, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is free of need. Okay, so Allah doesn't need any of his creation, anything from what he has created, Jalla wa ala. Okay, now he kind of puts a question here, فَإِنْ قِيلَ, and so this is a form of discussion the ulama do. جاء الخلق معلن في القرآن مثل قوله تعالى. If someone wants to say that the creation has been mentioned in the Quran as being motivated by purpose, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ, right? That Allah says in the Quran, this is a very famous verse in Surah Zariyat, that Allah says that I did not create jinn and mankind except to worship me. So someone might say that this idea of worship is a form of need. فَدَلَّ أَنَّمْ خَلَقُوا لِلْعِبَادَةِ خُلِقُوا لِلْعِبَادَةِ خَلَقُوا لِلْعِبَادَةِ, that they've been created for ibadah. So this is showing potentially that Allah has created for ibadah, when in a previous passage you just said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't have any haja. So he says the ta'wiluhu, right? The way to understand this is that I did not create jinn and mankind except that I shall command them, li'amirihim, right, to worship me and forbid them from disobeying me. وأنهم وأنهاهم عن معصيتي ثم أصيبهم على الطاعة وترك المعصية. And then I will reward them for their obedience and hold them to account for their lack of obedience or their disobedience. Okay. And he says, فَكَانَ الْخَلْقُ لِحَاجَةِ الْمُكَلِّفِ لَا لِحَاجَتِهِ. And creating them was for the need of the makhluk, a moral responsibility, not for his need. So Allah is not in need of creating you, but he has created you. Since he says they reap the benefit of worshipping him, and he incurs no harm by foregoing this. So the benefit for us, for me and you, is in worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whereas for Allah there is no benefit in creating us. But the fact that we are created, our benefit is in worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay. And so the verse that's often quoted, okay, وَإِنَّمَا حُمِلَ ذَلِكَ, that verse, ذَلِكَ ayah, that has only been thus interpreted so that it does not necessitate that there is an untruth in Allah's speech. As we know that they did not all worship him, right? So there's this idea of human free will here. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created you without the need for creating you. He didn't have to create you. But once he has created you, he's given you taklif, moral responsibility. And if you make the right choices, you worship him, you obey him, then you will be granted bliss. If on the other hand, you disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you only have yourself to blame. Okay. Raziqun bila mu'natin. He is the one who is raziq, the sustainer or provides sustenance without any form of difficulty. Okay. أي يرزق الخلق بلا كسب ولا علاج ولا استعانة بسبب. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he provides for his creation, it doesn't take any kasb, it doesn't take any effort on his part, or he doesn't need to go into any form of difficulty or sort of like physical form of work or anything like this, anything that we would do to acquire something. ولا استعانة بسبب, nor does he need isti'ana. Isti'ana means to seek help from some means. Okay. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whatever he has will occurs by his takween. Takween, this is something that we will go into in an advanced lesson of Aqidah in terms of what does the word takween mean and kawn mean and so forth. Okay. He's creating, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, إِنَّمَا قَوْلُنَا لِشَيْءٍ إِذَا أَرَدْنَاهُ أَن نَقُولَ لَهُ كُن فَيَكُونُ. That our word to a thing, when we have willed it, is only that we say to it, be, and it is. Kun fayakun, and it becomes. This takween is a very important concept in our understanding of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we will cover this, if Allah so wills, in some detail in an advanced lesson bi'iznillahi ta'ala. Okay. So this is something to bear in mind. And he also adds, due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala jalla wa ala being completely omnipotent, he has complete power. Okay, he doesn't have any need or any difficulty rather, or any hardship. Okay, likamali qudratihi, Allah has complete power. Kamali qudra, in English we could just call it omnipotent. He has complete power. His power is there all the time. Okay, jalla wa ala. Then he says, Imam Tahawiyyah says, mumitun bila makhafa, that he brings death without any fear. And you can see here that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not bound by any sort of human emotions, or he doesn't have any feelings that we are often plagued by, if you like. Mumitun bila makhafa, that he gives death or brings death, bila makhafa, khawf, without any fear. Okay, in other words, he gives death to his makhluk, his creation, without any khawf or without any wahsha. He doesn't feel any sort of discomfort on it to him, right? He doesn't feel uncomfortable about it because he's not like me and you. This is fundamental, the point. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not like us. Laysa kamithlihi shay. Because the existence or the non-existence, according to Allah, with Allah is equal. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not in need in any way or shape or form. And your existence, my existence with Allah is equal. فَإِنَّ وُجُودَهُمْ وَعَدَمُهُمْ بِالنِّسْبَةِ إِلَيْهِ سَوَاء. It is equal. Okay? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Aziz, Qahar, Al-Munfarid bid-Dawam wal-Baqa. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the Almighty. He's he subjugates, and he is everlasting and eternal, perpetual. Okay. Then he continues, ba'ithun bila mashaqqa. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So after talking about death, Imam Tahawiyyah brings this discussion around ba'ith, which means resurrection. Or ba'ath, we sometimes say, bila mashaqqa. And for Allah, when he resurrects, bring back to life in whatever way, shape or form, there's no mashaqqa, there's no difficulty for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وذلك لأن الله سبحانه وتعالى خلق العالم بلا مشقة بالتكوين على ما قال إنما قولنا. That when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the universe with his attribute of takween, of creating, he didn't endure any form of hardship, as we have read إنما قولنا in a verse in the Quran, إنما قولنا لشيء إذا أردناه أن نقول له كن فيكون. Okay, so Allah is Ta'ala, Allah is above any form of hardship in resurrecting, any form of hardship when it comes to restoring life. And he kind of, let's say, look, it's easier for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you like, to restore than originating. And then he brings a verse in the Quran, that's kama banana awwala khalqin nu'idu. That's, you know, it's easy for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to do this as well. Okay, so this is something to bear in mind. And Allah, then the author brings in various verses which are very, very interesting in many ways. That, you know, well, Allah was not tired by the first creation, so how can he somehow feel tired or incapable in creating you the second time? Nu'jiz, ijz, this word here has this meaning of being incapable. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is free from that. Kama badana awwala khalqin nu'idu. As we began the first creation, we shall repeat it. Okay. Allah says, ilayhi marji'ukum jami'a, that all of you are to return Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he continues, وَعَدَ اللَّهِ حَقًّا إِنَّهُ يَبْدَأُ الْخَلْقَ ثُمَّ يُعِيدُ. He produced the creation, and to him it will, and he will bring it back once again. Okay, and he says that this is a ankar al-ba'th, for those who deny resurrection. So this verse in the Quran, Surah Yasin, which we recite often, وَلَمْ يَرَ الْإِنسَانَ أَنَّا خَلَقْنَاهُ مِنْ نُطْفَةٍ فَإِذَا هُوَ خَصِيمٌ مُبِينٌ. Then he continues with the verse here in the Quran that you know, that you were basically a drop of seed, and then you now become this person who is a khasimun mubin, who's now arguing with your creator. Okay, and what do they say? That, you know, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then gives you a metaphor or a similitude, that you've forgotten your own creation. وَضَرَبْنَا مَثَلًا وَنَسِيَ خَلْقًا قَالَ مَنْ يُحْيِي الْعِظَامَ وَهِيَ رَمِيمٌ. That who will revive these bones when they have become ramim, when they've like just rotted or just become dust. Yeah. And then Allah responds, قُلْ يُحْيِيهَا الَّذِي أَنْشَأَهَا أَوَّلَ مَرَّةٍ. Then he responds, say he will revive them who produced them at the first time. Right. So this is something to bear in mind as well, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created you once, for the first time, then he is just as capable to create you, resurrect you just again. Just like you were created from fluid, semen, water, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can create you just from dust once again, right? Because nothing is difficult for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because these people, they only see material means. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the creator of all means. And neither is he, logically speaking, bound by any of his means that he has created. Okay, so this is something to bear in mind as well. أي كيف تشكون في البعث وتنكرونه وخلقنا تراب من أطوار مختلفة. So how could you deny Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he will resurrect you again, and you deny that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala create you from dust, like he just created from dust, right, from different types of dust as well. So this is something to bear in mind. Okay, so this is very, very important as well, that people, and the word here mukhalla in the Quran, here in Surah Hajj, min turabin thumma min nutfatin min alaqatin thumma min mudghatin mukhallaqatin wa ghayr mukhallaqa. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about how we created people, from a drop of seed, then clot, then some flesh, formed and unformed. So what does mukhalla mean? So he says mukhalla means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created you in a complete creation. Khalaqan, khuluqan ta'amman. Khalaqan ta'amman, that he's made you like a complete creation. Sometimes it's wa ghayri mukhalla, right? And Allah also mentions this in the Quran as well. And sometimes it happens that it's not a complete creation. Okay. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala leaves it as a drop of semen, for example. Okay. So this is something to bear in mind as well. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can do whatever he wishes. Okay. So this is something to bear in mind as well. So for the one who has the power to transform you from a state of dust to man, and from a state of sperm to a clot, and then to a morsel of flesh, has the power to resurrect and revive you. Right after you become dust, you might have been burnt, your body might have been scattered, what remains of it, and you might have become nothing. Okay, but this is your death. فَلَيْسَ مَوْتِكُمْ إِلَّا هَذَا. This is very, very telling. That death is basically a form of physical nothingness. Okay, so they are arguing based on materialism. They're saying, well, how can Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala resurrect us when we bury these people? They just rot away. And so how can this come alive again? Okay, because they're materialists. They only look at the external, right? But look at how you came around the first time. You didn't come out as a finished product at the age of 33. You basically came from a drop of water, right? Which is something that you see all the time. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you like, invested in that particular type of water life, right? And so Allah can, in a particular type of dust, give it life again. وَقَدْ أَنْشَأَكُمْ ابْتِدَاءً بِلَا مَشَقٍ فَكَذَا يُعِيدُكُم. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will essentially bring you back to life as well. So I think we'll stop there, because the next conversation is really interesting. And these are the sifats, as they say, the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we will cover them, inshallah, Allah wills, in the next video. Until then, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.